Hey everybody, welcome back to Prince's Friend. I am your host, Prince's Friend. This is episode 5 of the Why Prince Sucks series that I've been doing here over the course of this year. It will be 10 episodes in all, so there is a lot more to come. And this episode, we're going to talk about Prince's reputation. If you want to stay in the loop, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you are notified directly whenever we put out a new video. So up until now, we've been talking a lot about why people have been turned off by Prince. It could be that he's too sexy, it could be that he doesn't talk or do interviews, it could be that he's too political or too religious, or that, parents didn't want their kids to be exposed. There's a lot of these things. And the most important thing to understand about all of these things is that these were very purposeful on the part of Prince. He went out of his way to make sure that only certain photos of him got out and only certain quotes got out. He presented himself in the way that he wanted to be viewed, and that actually was a big factor in his reputation. Now, of course, in the beginning, it became a lot of, oh, he's a bad boy, and, ooh, he's so evocative. But the further we go into his reputation, the more he really worked to hurt himself. As soon as Purple Rain hit, he didn't want to be known only for Purple Rain. He actively fought against the idea that he would be categorized as only one thing.
The Wonders. Lenny.
Yeah, it looks like the Oneaters.
No, the Wonders.
Got it. Looks like the Oneaters.
Around the World in a Day was a great example of this. Everybody went into it thinking it was going to be Purple Rain 2, only to find that it was more psychedelic and completely different than Purple Rain. This turned off a lot of fans who were mostly just swept up in the hype and allowed Prince to really focus in on his true friends. That would be us. Going into the 90s, though, this became an even bigger deal, because Prince had a strategy to destroy the name of Prince. Who cared, right? He was now known as an unpronounceable symbol, so destroying Prince's name didn't really matter. He felt that that really wasn't who he was anymore, at least not in his soul. He was determined to leave that part of himself behind, and try and explore brand new ways to express himself in music and how to get his music out to his fans. Writing Slave on His Face is a very good example of this. He started creating this image of himself as a rabble-rouser, as somebody who would not play by the rules. Now, of course, for his fan base, this was awesome, but in the industry, it almost made him into a pariah. It meant distributors didn't want to work with him as much. It meant that promoters didn't want to work with him as much. He would have entire interviews where he wouldn't be there, or he would refuse to speak, and he would have somebody else speak on his behalf, usually Maite.
He's agreed to his first television interview in over a decade, but is refusing to answer any questions. Now, the press keeps talking about the dispute with your record company. Is there a dispute there?
In some cases, even just refusing to do any promotion at all. He did a lot of propaganda about how Prince was dead, and some people actually bought into that. Many copies of Come were sold because it said that he died in 1993. A lot of people thought that it was a posthumous album, and yet it really wasn't. It's just that Prince was going out of his way to damage his own reputation.
Prince. Best. Gold experience. Better.
When he finally got his emancipation, however, this really didn't change. His reputation did jump around quite a bit. He was the bad boy, then he was too religious, then he was too political. And in this case, he made a lot of strong statements at various stages of his career, where that could have been found to be insulting. For instance, as amazing as musicology is, the tagline that went with it was real music by real musicians, which turned off a lot of DJs, electronic artists, people who make music but in different ways other than just old school funk. And even though Prince would eventually embrace electronic music and really try to play around with some of those genres, it really didn't save his reputation in those areas. The strong religious connotation to many of his albums as well throughout the 2000s was a big deal, and then you couple that with a lot of his conspiracy theorist political views.
He said something that really hit home about this phenomena of chemtrails.
And you have somebody who's on his way to destroying his well-founded reputation. Of course, nobody could take away the fact that he's one of the best live performers ever, created so much music that we'll have hopefully music for decades to come. But it all really came to a head when he started his fight with the internet, where he actually started to sue his fans. Now, of course, you can always look at this topic from two different venues. He saw pirating and bootlegging and people posting his images, his music online as people trying to steal his ability to make money off of his own music, especially since he didn't have distribution and record deals in a traditional sense. Instead, he really had to hustle a lot for the money that he did make. Of course, fans of his music love to trade it and love to do all of these things, but he started to become very litigious in his later years, which again hurt his reputation. It made him seem like he was antagonistic towards his fans. He did eventually drop those lawsuits, many of them. However, there really wasn't any bouncing back from that. At the same time, I guess I kinda understand it. He really wanted to make sure that he got paid fairly for his music. That was the reason why for a long time his music was not on YouTube. Because YouTube's pay cuts, and I know this from experience, are not substantial. He felt that his music was worth more than what he was being offered. Sure, it would raise awareness of his brand and it would send it out to millions of people, but that's not what was important. If you wanted to know Prince, if you wanted to listen to his music, you knew where to find him. Of course, nowadays, a lot of people expect things for free. And this, of course, hurts his reputation as well. I don't know how many times in the comments that I've seen,
well, he should have just put it up on YouTube. It would have made him a lot more popular.
But Prince wasn't really into popularity. That wasn't his main focus, as is the focus of a lot of musicians and artists and celebrities nowadays. He wanted to focus on making that music and sharing it with people who would enjoy his music. And he didn't really care what anybody who didn't appreciate what he was doing thought. And that turns off a lot of people. When you don't care what they think of you, and you don't care what your reputation is, it will make a lot of people want to not listen to you. What did I do? They'll feel like they're not being catered to, and they'll feel like you don't care about them. When in fact, Prince cared a lot about his friends and what a lot of people call his fam. Prince loved us all, which was one of the defining factors of his music. It just didn't have anything to do with trying to make sure that he had a good reputation. So what did you think of this episode of Why Prince Sucks? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts, and let's continue the discussion. As always, don't forget to check us out on Twitter and Instagram. We also have the community tab, so don't forget to go and check out some of the posts that I've been doing there. And if you want to support the channel, don't forget to go check out the Patreon at patreon.com/princessfriend. You can be added to the wall of gratitude. I can give you a shout out. You can even tell me a review to do. Thank you all for coming and watching this video, and may you live to see the dawn. You know, something I don't often ask you guys all to do, but share these videos. It's super duper important, and it's what real friends do. So share these everywhere, and we can keep growing this community, and I'll see you in the next video.